get by. It resides between my eyes. Walk through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Dobbin Buck of GetUWired.com. And Dobbin, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes people should check out of the podcast. I have to talk about our mutual friend, Ian Garlick. I did an episode with Ian. Obviously, he runs VideoCaseStory.com, and he helps people capture great client stories. I don't know if you knew this, Dobbin, but he comes from an entrepreneurial family. And one of the stories he told about his dad had live dolphins in a restaurant. Okay. Now he's in Orlando, which is just still weird to have live dolphins in a restaurant, but his dad's restaurant was actually at Wisconsin at the time, which is really strange. So I just, we brainstormed and got the kind of creative juices flowing on the type of things that his dad did, that he does. And so that was a really good episode. Another one was with Andrew Barnes. You'll like this one, Dobbin. So Andrew Barnes he has 4dayweek.com. And he talked about the 4-day week and how kind of the flexible work revolution can increase productivity, profitability, and well-being. And Dobbin has shifted to that over the years to take Mondays off, to do fly fishing and take care of himself. That was really interesting because it's a bit counterintuitive, right? You'd think, and you even experience this, Dobbin, which is like, my 5-day week is jam-packed. Now I'm taking away a day, and your partners are like, you sure about this? We'll talk about it. Okay. But that was a really good episode. Travis Makishin, also founder and CEO of Glide Design, who I interviewed, also decided to go to a 4-day week, and he talked about some of the things he was doing. So check those episodes out. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. How do we do that? We do that by helping you run your podcast. We're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast, and we do the accountability, the strategy, and the full execution. So Dobbin, we're kind of like the magic elves that run in the background to make it look easy for the host and the company, so they create great content and great relationships, but most importantly, run their business. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships, and I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I've found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. Plus, I like to introduce people to my guests, like specifically, all companies who have a big software company that needs APIs or integrations should be calling Dobbin, which we'll talk about and how he does that. But Dobbin Buck is a marketing agency owner. And with his partners, they grew their agency from a team of 5 to 50 over the past 20 years that they've been in business. Dobbin's expertise is in a number of things. So we'll see what we can touch on today, from culture to leadership to business development to operational efficiencies to just marketing strategy and everything in between. They're actually really interesting. If you go online and check out their company, they literally have a backwoods office. It's a really nice backwoods office, by the way, in Georgia. And he's obsessed with fly fishing. Dobbin, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. It's an honor to be here and excited to jam with you.
We're going to talk about how you got into the agency life, and even before that, developing museums and the dark points that led you here. But let's just start off and tell people about GetUWired and what you do. And I'm going to, there is an audio version and a video version, so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to poke around GetUWired. But talk about what you do.
Absolutely. So GetUWired is a full-service web marketing agency. We specialize in development, marketing automation, and creative content. With our clients, we're providing really a one-stop shop. So a lot of influencers, different entities, different nonprofits, businesses, from small business to enterprise level endeavors are coming to us. And so we're able to create all their web properties, integrate complex systems that perhaps they're leveraging, and really provide them with a team that can lock arms with their vision and provide an outcome that is both enjoyable in regards to the journey they take with us, but also what we're able to provide. And we've really hung our hats on the fact that we're highly technically competent. So we have 15 full stack developers. So a lot of the SaaS companies that we're partners with and leverage in our tech stacks have actually taken us on as they're as vendors. So they're our clients, and we're doing integrations and development in the software systems that we actually use, which is a real honor, such as Keep CRM system and Active Campaign and a number of others that we're honored to work with on a regular basis, helping to expand the features and usability of their system. So it's been a really fun and incredible journey.
Well, Dobbin, it's hard to find developers, good developers. And the funny thing is, I remember listening to an interview with you talking, at one point, they were all in Georgia, probably North Georgia, right? So
correct.
Talk about your philosophy around that. It was obviously important enough. It's hard enough to find developers. Now you're like, I'm finding top developers and they have to be in Georgia. So your philosophy around them being local. And even I think with COVID, you were a big proponent of, just keeping the culture of the office going too.
Absolutely. So I think where we may differentiate from other agencies is that a lot of my contemporaries are hiring developers, they're hiring pre-developed talent, hired guns, and bringing people into the house that are theoretically immediately competent with whatever that they want to get into. With our culture, what we have is a culture of mentorship. So we have younger developers coming out of college, maybe not even coming out of college. It is not a requirement to work for us to have a college degree. But they're coming in with a desire, some background. We have a skills test that we pass people through, but young developers can get in and we start training them and fostering their craft to where we're investing in them, and over in time they're becoming senior developers 5-6 years in. So we make an investment early on. We do have projects and tasks that specifically can pertain to a newer developer, but we're able to get them at an economy early on because we're perhaps they're the first company to invest in them or the second company, and we get that cultural stickiness. The senior developers are mentoring them. We're guiding them on their career path within our company. And we just have an arsenal of amazing developers. I mean, some of these cats have been with me for 11 or 12 years. They came out of college single. They're married now with 3 kids, own a house, and are like responsible adults. You should have seen them when they came in. And it's just been an amazing journey. So that's really the way that we've developed our talent, is not so much soliciting people that have been at other agencies or things like that. It's really homegrown, and it's served us well. And the key to it is having a culture of training and mentorship and a willingness to invest in these people. And when we have people beyond the early indoctrination phases of being a developer, we wind up arriving at a 70-30 rule. So 70% of a developer's time needs to be billable, directly billable to whatever projects we're working on. But we leave 30% of their time actually to the mentorship, ongoing training, and cultural initiatives, to where they have really breathing room to grow as a professional in their craft and personally grow through some of the program that we have internally.
I feel like as I studied for this interview and studied your company and you, that's one of the major secret sauces that you have, which is the training piece. So you can develop the talent and leadership within. And that's a huge advantage. Talk about some of the things you do. And I know one of the things, I mean, having a mental health, I mean, stuff that's just, um, outside the norm of what people are doing from a training perspective. I know you have the mental health coach. Like, what are some of the things that you actually do for the company and the staff?
So culturally, there's ongoing what we call continuing education, and employees sign up to be instructors. So they may be experts at nutrition or uh, finance or meditation or different things that have helped them in their lives. So we pre-plan this, and then we have scheduled training that people can selectively participate in the company. So we have a lot of like personal development stuff that we offer to our team, because a happy, healthy team is makes for a happy, healthy company, which makes for happy, healthy clients, right? Um, Technically, around the skill sets and crafts in the organization, we have regular programming and training on uh, new methods of coding, new marketing strategies, new softwares. We have our own interviews where we bring in top developers from software companies or CEOs to speak to our team. And they're generally willing to do it because, they'll show up and, we'll have 40 some people on the webinar, all eager beavers wanting to absorb this stuff. So regularly every week, there's some sort of growth oriented programming on top of our quarterly team building events and uh, parties, holiday parties and different things that we do to bring ourselves together physically, because we used to all work in this big headquarters, the GetUWired cabin. And then at COVID, we did work from home. And then after COVID, nobody wanted to go back. So right now, we re-outfitted the headquarters into a Airbnb or a short-term rental that sleeps up to 20 people. So masterminds can come there.
Here we go.
Yeah,
You're looking at the screen. Here you go. Here's this. So people could actually do a mastermind here.
Yeah, we have masterminds, wedding parties, family reunions, all sorts of people rent the place. So it sleeps up to 20, and it has a beautiful big fireplace inside and big, couch area and entertainment systems and everything. So it's for rent, and we use it ourselves. But when we aren't using it, we keep it rented pretty solidly. Interesting.
Talk about the team building and what things do you do, obviously in person, and other things that you also do virtually?
Well, for team building, when we're doing them in person, there's this thing we have that my partner Melissa came up with called the redneck regatta. And so I don't mean to be derogatory about Southern people with long beards and things, but we have some we have some terminology that we have fun with. And so we go to a lake, and teams of groups of 4 or 5 employees spread out all get to grab a bag of materials, and then out of those materials they have to build a raft. And then when that raft is built, one of the people on that team, they enter it into a race. So they have to go out into a lake around a certain obstacle and then come back to the shore, and whoever wins is the winner. So there's a lot of team building and building something that will actually float for the trip. And then, what's going to be more aerodynamic or functional to win it. So we do a lot of things like that where there's a lot of fun. The failures, as in business, the failures are as celebrated as much as the victories. We're always failing forward. We're always learning from our mistakes. It's part of our culture. So when we do it in team building, we can have a lot of laughs, and and we always walk away from it. Oh, I could have done this a little bit differently, or we could have designed this a little bit differently. So that's one example. But we have scavenger hunts. We have all sorts of different things. Normally, in our fourth quarter team building event, we have a philanthropic thing to where we'll go wrap gifts for a charity, buy gifts for kids, and wrap them and deliver them to people that can get them in the right hands, all sorts of stuff like that. So we have a lot of fun. Sometimes it's whitewater rafting or inner tubing or you name it. We've tried it. The most recent one, we went bowling. we went bowling and had a Mexican buffet, and then had laser tag competitions amongst our team. And it sounds pretty simple, but it's just a lot of fun to get people together and have a good time.
It sounds fantastic to me. I love it. And by the way, yeah, I love the Jeff Foxworthy blue collar comedy tour. So I could totally dig. I feel like there should be a T-shirt. I don't know if you made T-shirts for the Redneck Regatta, but there should be a T-shirt. So I love that.
Well, interesting, quick side note on that. The newspaper came when we were doing it the first time, and I wasn't paying attention. Some guy was like interviewing, asking questions, and they brought a photographer out. And I'm not really paying attention. But my strategy with my boat is I'm going to wear a Speedo, and nobody is going to want to catch up to me. As long as I can get ahead, nobody's going to want to be near me. It'll guarantee me a win. So I'm out there in this Speedo, and the newspaper took a picture of it. And in the Gainesville Times, there was like a full color, like 6 inches high by 4 inches wide photo of me carrying this watercraft in a Speedo. And my kids found out about it, and it destroyed them.
You were your phone was ringing off the hook. Your wife was jealous from all the people calling, right?
I didn't say it was pretty.
Oh, okay. I'm curious on the structure of the meetings. You grew from 5 to 50 people. What does the regular cadence of meetings look like for the team and leadership team?
Well, that's changed over the years, but currently we put more emphasis on internal teams. So generally every morning there's team meetings, team get-togethers first thing in the morning for the project managers hold for their creatives, developers, and team members, make sure that they're getting on track for that day. Culturally, the leadership team meets every week. So we meet every Wednesday and go through whatever is at hand. Once a month, we have a meeting that all the teams are presenting their KPIs. Mostly it's financial. So our revenue, our profitability, our overall employee efficiencies, our how much retraining percentages and all that stuff. We track a lot of things for tax benefits. So like retraining credits, different things like that. So we keep tabs on that once a month. Then we have a bigger quarterly offsite that the leadership team does, and we do a big multi-day annual. So for leadership, we take our rhythms pretty seriously. And then internally with the teams, they have daily meetings. Generally, we'll have a bigger meeting on Fridays. And then we also have a company meeting once a month where we have different programming. We make company announcements, and generally I'll have a special guest. Sometimes it's a software company or an influencer or a friend of mine. Ian was on it recently talking about video case stories. Perhaps Jeremy, you could join me on a company meeting in the future. It's a lot of fun. So
yeah. What about you mentioned obviously you have partners. How did you meet your partners?
How I met my partners was that early on in GetUWired, we were in that original 5, and we didn't own the company. So we were working together. I had moved to the backwoods of North Georgia from Atlanta at the time with my wife. And she basically forced me to get a job. I wasn't in a hurry to work up here. And so she connected me with this little website shop that needed help with sales and business development. And I talked to the guy that owned it, and he was like, well, I'd love to hire you, but I don't think I can afford you. He looked at my resume with all the museums and different things like that. And I said, listen, dude, I can't afford to go home without a job. So how about you give me a job and we'll figure out how to make some money together. And he said, that sounds good to me. So we shook hands. And then in a few years, myself and the senior developer and Melissa Allen, who was at the time a project manager, the three of us gelled really well together. And we still gel after, 15, 16 years. The company's 20 years old. And we bought out the company and moved forward from that point forth. And a lot of changes since then. We thought we were great back then, but I'm here to tell you we weren't. It was small and scary times, and we've really been blessed with, I think, amazing company and great lifestyles for ourselves as a result of it.
Yeah, I think, Dobbin, at least I do. I learn the most from challenging times or mistakes. What are those that stick out for you in your agency journey?
Well, the most glaring one is hiring the wrong people. So that to me is the most self-destructive, threatening element of any business, is having the wrong people, because you have the expense of hiring them, you have the expense of training them, you have the emotional expense of caring about them, and there's just all sorts of equity that you're pouring into individuals. And when they aren't in alignment with your mission, purpose, and core values, and there's some sickness or disalignment, it affects the team, it affects the clients, it affects the profits, it affects the vision, it affects optimization. So we learned pretty early on, and there was a period, I think, if I'm not mistaken, when we redefined our core values and decided to change the company, I let go 7 or 8 people in one day many years ago. That's how serious we took it. And so
that's tough to do.
Yeah, it's really tough to do, because letting go of someone doesn't mean they're a bad person. You want to wish the best for them. And it's all it means is that there isn't alignment with the vision of the company, and it's not going to work. So somewhere else they could be super successful, just not here.
What was it? I'm going to pull it up here. And from those 7 people, was there any particular pattern of a specific maybe core value, or maybe give an example? Like we're right here, we're on your page here. You can see the GetUWired.com, the core values: empower, respect, excellence, challenge, tribe. What was it?
You'll notice those spell out, if you look down the side, erect. ERECT. So not intentionally, but I think it means that I tell people that it means that we're standing tall, right? So what were the
that's on the back of the Redneck Regatta t-shirt.
yeah, it should be. Exactly. Yeah. I think it probably applies to it with these individuals, applies to everything here. We empower and respect small business. It doesn't mean we empower and respect small businesses when it's convenient to us. It means anybody that we're working with, we respect them. If they're difficult, if they're argumentative, if they're disrespectful, if I'm collecting revenue from them and have decided to allow them to be a client, we empower and respect them till they're no longer a client, period. We honor the role and respect the position. That's been changed now as we honor the role and respect the person. This applies throughout the company, throughout our team. Respect your managers, respect your team, respect the leaders of the company, etc. And it also, we honor the role and respect the person when it comes to the client. We take pride and ownership of our work. That means we do our best, and we're continuing to build our craft. We're continuing to develop our craft to be the best that we can at what we provide our clients. We define and conquer every challenge. Definition is the power word here. We go to great pains with everybody we work with as a client or internally at our company. Before we do anything, we define what we're going to be doing, what our objectives are, and how we're going to get there in very specific terms. When we have that done, we can conquer that challenge. Before there's definition, it makes it more difficult to effectively conquer anything. And then tribe, we help small business. We blank together is the core value. And so there's a bunch of funny little things here, but everything we do together. We learn together. We celebrate our successes. We learn from our failures together. We have team building events together. We break bread together, and it's a team effort, you know?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because I think, really hearing how you think through the core values is important, at least important for me to learn and understand. And you make decisions off those core values, which even meant making hard decisions, which is letting people go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to run through, the evolution of the services and also kind of evolution of the types of clients you've worked with. So if you were to take me kind of fast forward through your company from the services side, it sounds like initially it was websites, right? Fast forward me through some of the things and how the services offerings evolved.
Started out really in websites, web development, and then pretty early on, the company Keep, which used to be Infusionsoft, we got Infusionsoft for ourselves to do our own marketing automation. So email drip campaigns this is like 2008. Okay. So I got Infusionsoft in 2008, and all of a sudden I started getting results from it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. We're getting, sales appointments and all of this sort of thing. And it was just revolutionary. It's commonplace now, but back then it was like, holy moly. And so I was like, you know what? Everybody that we sell a website to, we need to sell Infusionsoft to too. Like, you can't have a call to action and just have people go into an abyss or to an email that gets lost somewhere. Like, you need a system. So we started developing the systems, and then we grew from there. And so there's a lot of marketing automation, full-bodied CRM solutions out there. Keep has been the longest term relationship I've had with a software company. And I really appreciate the company from the leadership down into the product itself. And so out of that, then everybody wants to integrate things with their website and with their CRM solution. So we had developers. So it's like, hey, we can make custom API integrations. This is before Zapier and other things were commonplace back then. So we were integrating systems to get all the data into one place, connecting websites. Pretty soon we got into developing membership sites and learning portals for influencers. Some of the old guard, back in the early days of that. There's some of our partners right there.
There's Keep, there's Active Campaign, there's Zapier, and I saw there was an interview with you and the Membrium founder too out there.
Micah Mitchell,
and some of these others. Yeah.
So, and this is a very small list of our partners, but we just began expanding our expertise into a variety of different SaaS ecosystems, establishing our presence and how adept we were at their systems and leveraging them in our tech stacks and our strategies for our clients. And we really grew our agency, I would say, for the most part, through business development with SaaS ecosystems. And then out of that, clients represent people. We got into the influencer space pretty early because we were effective at developing funnels and marketing automation and all of that pretty early on. And
I mean, you make
we've
these
had a lot of fun
services
with it.
stickier ultimately, right? I mean, like, so for instance, like Memberium may be like, hey, these people need some help, and you have these partnerships built up with these companies, and you're helping these customers really use these software or systems to its full effect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a little bit dated. So other systems like HubSpot, we're working with a lot. There's Copper CRM is another one that's pretty interesting that we're working with. So the sort of the centralized point of a lot of these strategy is the CRM and the marketing automation solution. And then on the creative side, the website development and creative content. And of course, content is king in regards. None of this works without powerful content and thoughtful, story-based content and a real strategy around it.
And what's interesting too is, you're serving this ecosystem, but some of these companies actually became your clients too, like themselves, like Active Campaign and Keep. What kind of things did you do with like Active Campaign and some of these other software companies?
Sure, like Active Campaign, Keep, Webflow, Zapier. I'm partners of SaaS companies, but ultimately, what's happening with SaaS companies, especially now, is that their internal product teams are busy on their product roadmaps, updating stuff, trying to bring out new features as quickly as possible, and so their developers are really tied to some serious timelines that they're trying to make releases, and they can't keep up with the integrations out there. So because we're intimately familiar with the systems, the strategies, how the end users are going to be leveraging integrations and stuff, many of these companies have hired us to build the internal integrations out to other systems. So as an example, with Keep, we developed their public Zapier integration. So if you go to Zapier, you want to leverage Zaps to interconnect Keep with different softwares or different strategies. Ultimately, you're using something that we've created, and we continually maintain that, put new features into it, ongoing, working with that. So with Active Campaign, working on integrating Active Campaign with other softwares that they think will be beneficial to their audiences. So a lot of these companies wind up hiring us as a auxiliary development team that takes some of the weight of that stuff off of their own internal team because they're, like I said, they're busy on their own product roadmaps.
I want to talk about what you do with influencers, but I will say, I want a tagline on your website somewhere, like we will build you a public Zapier integration. There's a company, a software company like I was thinking of using, and they don't have this, and I can't use it. Like it's not unusable for me because they don't have a Zapier integration, right? And so I'm not technical enough, so I'm gonna have to send them your way. But if they did, I would definitely consider being a customer and probably pay them lots of money every year. So it's a huge need for these companies if they don't have one. Talk about what you do with influencers.
Sure. With influencers, we're leveraging all of our technical and creative abilities. So I've been honored to work with household names for well over a decade. Some of my favorite authors, New York Times bestselling authors, and amazing people. And so generally what we're doing is we're technically helping with, it could be with their book launches, with their membership portals, their masterminds, their own ecosystems. They may have products that they're selling from stage, all sorts of different things. So the technology around the systems that they're selling, we're developing a lot and helping them to make a scalable product that is easy to parlay to their audience, that won't churn, and will provide them with a great service or a great product. We're doing all sorts of things. So we're really a one-stop shop, where a lot of times the influencers will need to go to 3 or 4 different agencies to effectively get all of these services. We're really able to do it under one roof, with one caveat, that a few years ago, I stopped doing paid ad management. It was getting a little bit crazy for me, because some of my clients are doing like $250,000 a month Facebook ad spends and different things like that. And it just got really scary to be responsible for. It seemed like the good way to lose a client was to be on the hook for that stuff. And so I have friends that are better at that than me, and that's what they do, and they do it well. So I partner with other agencies around, into the ad management, ad spend, and some of the ad creatives. And then we really focus on the funnel and all of the, all the systems beyond that. So we've made some great partnerships, and I think it's better for our clients because you can't be a master of everything, and particularly that discipline. Not to speak poorly of agency or anything, but they're few and far between, the agencies that really know how to do it. And it's a smoke and mirror show out there that a lot of people aren't getting their ROI on investment for that,
It's a tough decision, especially to stop doing something when your clients are demanding of you. It takes discipline. And I was talking to an agency owner the other day on this very topic, and that was my thought. They're thinking of integrating it into their company and doing it. I'm thinking it's a whole nother skill set and a whole nother set of issues, problems, processes, systems. So sounds like you kind of just tested it out and then went back to just specializing in what you wanted to do. You mentioned, books. I'd love to hear some of your favorite resources and some of your favorite books, whether it's leadership, business.
Well, I read at least a book a week, sometimes 2. So I'm reading in the morning, I'm reading in the evening. I always have within reach a Kindle that doesn't get alerts or anything like an iPad or other things. And I can read in the darkness, not alert my wife. So I'm constantly reading. I've read the canon of business development books and how to grow a company and all of that sort of thing. So, you can only imagine. I've read everything in the last 15 years. But what I will draw attention to is, and what I'm reading now, is I'm reading non-business books. And I find it really interesting to draw parallels and new ways of thinking about business. And I'm reading a book right now that is called The Guitar Circle by Robert Fripp. Robert Fripp was the leader and guitarist of a progressive rock band called King Crimson. And he, in later years, developed what was called a guitar circle. So a very disciplined circle of musicians that would live and work together to be able to create these amazingly complex compositions. And there is a philosophy of how they operate, how they treat their instrument, their posture, how they work as a team, all of this stuff. I could go on. It's a masterclass in itself of how his methodology for a guitar circle applies to business. So I've just been fascinated with his genius in this book and the parallels I'm finding with it in the business world. And another recent book that Ian sent me in the mail, and I read it, and I was just like, oh man, I just love this book. I would love to meet this guy. Is Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act. I know it's very popular. It's in all the bookstores and everything. But I mean, I absorbed that book in about a day. I was so captivated by it. And then I got it on Audible because he reads it himself. and listen to it again. And that really stimulated a lot of thought around my own personal creativity, my blockages for my own writing, for things that I'm doing in business. It really was interesting and enjoyable, and I highly recommend it. So those probably aren't standard recommendations from somebody, but I like going sort of outside of the, how many times can I read John Maxwell, who I love. So.
No, thanks for sharing that. I love Outside the Box. I have some Audible credits, so I'll have to check out the Rick Rubin one. I've heard good things. It gives you, these books give perspective, right? And where you are today is because of all the life experiences. And so I know we mentioned at the very beginning, there were some dark points that kind of brought you, and it added to who you are as a person and your perspective. Talk about some of those times and how they affected you.
Sure. Well, a real short version is that my early career, I was in the military. I was in the Army for 4 years, and I used the Army College Fund to pay for my college. And then for over a decade, I developed museums. So I worked for an exhibit house, and we built museums and built things at attractions like Disney and Epcot Center, and really cool work. And so I was a critical team member, worked out of Orlando and New York City, and just had amazing projects. U.S. Astronaut Hall of Fame. I got to meet all the living Apollo and Gemini astronauts and Walter Cronkite the opening day. All sorts of cool stuff. A couple different projects at the Guggenheim Museum in New York City, Audubon Society, numerous science centers and museums. I think I have like 30 museum projects under my belt. And so I was in New York City, and things got a little crazy. I was working on a project for the Museum of Sex, and they were just getting started on that. And so I was helping them in early development of it, because I had credentials like from the Statue of Liberty and Smithsonian and those sorts of projects. So I was working with them, and the museum was empty. It was over by Madison Square Park. And so they let me live in the top floor of the museum because it wasn't developed yet. And I just fell into a real bad time with drugs and alcohol and crazy behaviors and everything. And I went from being a really successful individual in high demand to a person that you would go to the other side of the street to avoid on the sidewalk. I lost everything, and I was penniless and homeless, and I wound up in a hospital with my family wanted nothing to do with me. I had no friends left. And I was in bad physical condition and all, and I came out of that. And there was a pivotal moment where I was like, I'm willing to do anything to have a decent, healthy life. And I'm eager to take that path. But if that path isn't for me, let's just be done with this now, sort of a let's go or no moment. And as fate would have it, some people came into my life that were very helpful and were able to help lift me up and carry me for a couple years. And I was a barista at a coffee shop, a stock boy at a variety store, making minimum wage. My brain wasn't working anymore. I'd been pretty smart and done some amazing things, but I was fried. And so coming out of that, all I did was learn how to meditate, how to eat right, how to exercise, how to take care of myself, not worry about getting rich, just worry about what I'm doing today and surviving and not causing more destruction. And I left all my contacts out of, my old business connections and everything. I never went back to them. I was net new, and I went forward and I started over again. And I met my wife, and we wound up back here in the backwoods of North Georgia. And I got a job at a little website shop. And then we built an agency. And now I have a wife and 2 amazing kids and live on a river that has amazing trout where I can go fly fishing, and I hang out back here, work from home, and travel around the world to exotic locations, fly fishing and hanging out with cool people. And, it hasn't been a bad deal. But yeah, the dark days. I was 36, by the way. So some people think, oh, I can't start over. I didn't have my first kid till I was 40. I didn't get into the company that I own now until I was in my early 40s. Like, it's not too late to kick it into high gear. And I tell you what, I'm 58 now, but I've got more stuff ahead of me that I haven't done yet. New endeavors, new exciting risks, ahead of me in this life. So if you feel stuck in what you're doing, believe me, I'm not that capable or special. I surround myself with great people, and I play my role, and and I have a decent life as a result of it. And marketing in the world of agency, and a lot of these software ecosystems and people like you, Jeremy, have supported that, and allowed us to grow and help a lot of clients, and also feed a lot of families on my team. So yeah, interesting.
Dobbin, I want to be the first one to thank you and for sharing your stories and lessons. And it's really, thank God you came out of it and you had support, and, you touched so many customers' lives and the families around you with the staff. And it's kind of words to live by. I love what you said about worry about what I'm doing today. And that can apply no matter where we're at in our lives. So thanks for sharing that. Everyone check out GetUWired.com to learn more. And we'll see everyone next time. Dobbin, thanks so much.
Thank you, Jeremy.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.